Good, happy Monday evening, December 7, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Monday evening, so let's begin. First up, let's begin with your COVID-19 updates. 1,045 new COVID-19 cases reported in New Hampshire, 2 additional deaths. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Tonight, New Hampshire is reporting 1,045 new cases of COVID-19. Most of the results are from the backlog between last Wednesday and now, bringing the total positives to 25,816. More than 5,300 cases are active right now. There are 185 current hospitalizations, the most ever in the state. There are 2 new deaths to report, with 566 total deaths, 40 just this month.
And here is how the surge in the last 2 weeks looks by county across the state. Hillsborough has seen the most new cases with more than 2,700. Rockingham has seen nearly 1,800. Coos County, which went a month without any cases at the start of the pandemic, has reported 70 new cases in the last 14 days. Sullivan County has had the fewest new cases during that time, with 69.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Now let's take a look at New Hampshire COVID information, new updates and data. Let's take a look at that right now. And here is a look at that information for all of you right now. There are 25,816 number of people in New Hampshire tested positive for COVID-19. 14,888,471 number of people in the United States have tested positive. 566 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 849 number of people have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 326 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. Now let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where current cases of COVID-19 are. In Manchester, 736. Let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where total cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 4,455. Now let's take a look at these 3 charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, new hospitalization, and red, deaths. Let's take a look at this chart here. Current cases in the purple. Total current COVID-19 cases. Orange, current hospitalization. Let's take a look at this chart here. Total cases in the purple. Total positive COVID-19 cases. Orange, total hospitalization. Red, death, and blue, recovered. Let's take a look at this chart here. Positive PCR test rate and daily PCR tests. Let's take a look at this chart here. Age group of cases. Female and male of cases and risk information. Let's take a look at this chart here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, difficult breathing, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Worker in New Hampshire Governor's office tests positive for COVID-19, officials say. Governor Sununu not determined to be close contact with the patient. Person diagnosed Monday. Patient was last in the office on Wednesday. Governor not in close contact but will monitor for symptoms. New Hampshire COVID-19 quarantine guidelines. What to do if you're exposed. Learn about the guidelines for quarantining and traveling. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Mike, state health officials say the idea here is to weigh the risk with the reward of trying to lift the burden off of people. Today, state epidemiologist Dr. Benjamin Chan announced that the guidance in New Hampshire for someone who has potentially been exposed to COVID-19 is decreasing from 14 to 10 days. Now, this is in line with the CDC's new guidance, but New Hampshire stopped short. It will not be adopting the 7-day test out of quarantine option.
With each step down in quarantine time period, there is some increased risk of a person with COVID-19 being missed and spreading it to others, but that risk is relatively minimal when you talk about going from a 14-day to a 10-day quarantine, but the risk goes up even further if you're looking at a 7-day quarantine, even if there's a test required to get out of quarantine after 7 days.
Now, there is still a 7-day test out of quarantine option for travel only. The recommendation for a 14-day quarantine remains in effect for places like jails, prisons, and long-term care facilities. Live in Concord, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Ice smashes car windshield on highway. Police remind public about Jessica's Law. Police share another post showing pulled over car, mostly covered in snow. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Why buy a new Ford from Plymouth Ford? Because we stand behind them all with a 20-year,
Well, a reminder to drivers, it is the law in New Hampshire to clean ice and snow off your car before you hit the road. State police say this car's windshield was smashed on I-95 yesterday after ice came off a car in front of it. Jessica's Law was passed back in 2002. Fines start at $250 and go up to $1,000.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire power restoration efforts in New Hampshire continue into Tuesday, officials say. Electricity already back for more than 130,000 customers who lost it. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Why buy a new Ford from Plymouth Ford? Because we stand behind them all with a 20-year, 200,000.
Eversource officials say since the peak of the nor'easter, they've restored power to more than 130,000 customers. But there is still more work to be done.
It really dumped a large swath of heavy, wet snow, especially in those southern and central regions of the state. And along with the strong winds, that heavy, wet snow weighed down lines and fractured tree limbs.
William Hinkle says two of the hardest hit areas were Rochester and Wakefield. He says restoration work has been round the clock, with an additional 200 out-of-state crews arriving yesterday.
There were, more than 100 blocked roads across the state from this event, and it's a time-intensive process to clear those blocked roads, especially as you get further out into the state in the northern and western regions.
New Hampshire Electric Co-op says between Saturday night and Sunday morning, about a quarter of their 80,000 customers were without power. That number is down to just a couple thousand, with Alton and Raymond being the hardest hit.
We had to do a lot of road clearing. We had every line crew had a tree crew with them to, in often cases, have to cut through to get to the road to access the outage to begin restoring it. So there was a lot of tree work in the storm.
Eversource expects all of their customers to be back on by midnight. The New Hampshire Electric Co-op says their restoration efforts will last until tomorrow. Reporting live, I'm Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And thank you for watching this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Have a great rest of your Monday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and goodbye, everyone.